ahead on 12 News, open for business.
This is sort of unusual. It's probably the earliest year that we've experienced in opening.
What the early apple season means for consumers. Then one woman's weight loss journey.
I thought I was going to die the first 2 weeks.
But how a little help made it work. But first, an election recount and a new council member 1 week after a special election. 12 News starts right now.
Bob Maida has won the special election for Brooklyn Park's West District Council seat. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alexandra Renslow.
And I'm Mike Johnson. The results from last week's election showed Bob Maida beat Winfred Russell by just 5 votes. And as Renee Bonneau reports, a recount held Tuesday showed no change.
One by one Tuesday morning, a box for each of West District's 7 precincts were opened, and votes were sorted and carefully counted by hand. Closely watching were 2 candidates involved in the contest this recount will decide, the race for West District's council seat. Results from a special election held during last week's primary showed Bob Maida beat Winfred Russell 536 votes to 531.
Candidate Russell requested a recount based on the result, on the amount of votes. If it's less than half of 1%, then we'll do a recount.
The recount resulted in 31 votes for candidate Maida. On election night, 31 votes were transmitted.
In the end, the numbers tallied here were identical to the results generated last Tuesday night. Both candidates say they have no regrets about the recount.
We thought we would have been able to pick up some votes, but we are satisfied with the process. It's a very fair and transparent process.
It came out exactly like we expected, but you never know. So, I mean, I would have done the same thing had I been on the other end of that.
Russell says this race highlights the message that every vote counts.
We cannot take this for granted. We see what's happening in the Middle East and other places where folks are fighting and dying just to vote in an election. We have an opportunity here. We have a really good system, and we don't need to take that for granted. We need to show up to vote.
Maida says he looks forward to moving on.
My whole premise and everything I want to do is help lower the taxes for the people and get our spending in line. And help bring businesses into the city to help get the lion's share of the taxes, so you take the burden off the residents.
The recount results will go before the Brooklyn Park City Council for certification on August 27th. Bob Maida will be sworn in at the City Council meeting on September 4th. In Brooklyn Park, Renee Bonneau, 12 News.
Another recount in another election is scheduled for Wednesday. It'll determine which candidates are on the November ballot for a seat on the Three Rivers Parks Board. Rick Tyson easily won the primary, but just 21 votes separated Jennifer DeJornett and incumbent Marilyn Corcoran in last week's voting. The recount will determine who will run against Tyson in November. District 2 includes Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Dayton, Maple Grove, and Osseo. The candidate running for another seat on the Three Rivers Park Board was caught in a prostitution sting in St. Paul last week. 43-year-old Matthew Lau faces a misdemeanor charge of engaging in prostitution. Lau is accused of making a deal with an undercover officer. He is one of 2 candidates running for a vacant position on the Three Rivers Board.
The Brooklyn Center School District will not ask voters for more money on the November ballot. The school board had planned to ask for an additional $300 per student, but board members changed their minds. Last year, voters passed a levy renewal of $337 per student. Superintendent Keith Lester says the board didn't feel comfortable asking for a property tax hike so soon after a levy was just approved.
The Brooklyn Park City Council has approved a 4% pay raise for its city manager. The original proposal was for a 5% raise, but some council members thought that was too much. Councilmember Rich Gates says it's not a reflection of Jamie Verbrugge's job performance. He says it's a morale issue in the city. Others said Verbrugge should be compensated for his education and knowledge of the city. A Hennepin County Commissioner is calling on local city officials to help ease the concerns of some Golden Valley Council members over proposed light rail in the Northwest Metro. Mike Opad told Brooklyn Park City Council officials last night the Met Council would like to have all cities approve the proposed Bottineau Corridor route by November. Golden Valley is the only city along the route that has objected.
Together, we will forward. They want resolutions of support from every city, or they delay the process indefinitely. And we have too much time involved in this. We have too much potential here to let this happen. 3 council members in Golden Valley voted against the proposed route earlier this year.
The light rail would be built alongside a park where freight trains already run. It is early, but it's here. Minnesota's apple crop is ripe for the picking.
Area orchards are opening ahead of schedule due to our unusually warm March. But growers aren't out of the woods yet. In a weather-dependent business, the quantity of apples could be a little lower than usual.
Can you reach that?
Sarah Borchers is sharing an experience with her daughter Ella
Big leaves on it.
that Sarah remembers from childhood.
I actually came here as a kid, but it's her first time, and it's about time. So we're glad to be here on such a beautiful day. Nice job.
They're getting a jump start on the season
We started planting apple trees here in 1976.
because Lowell Shoppers Orchard
Basically, we've been planting and replanting just about every year since then.
is open for business.
This background color here has been green all summer. And when that turns amber, starts turning amber, then we know it's getting very close to being ripe.
Before school starts, it's easy to find time to come out and, might as well get a jump on making apple pie. And
We're about a week early in our opening. The apples are roughly 2 weeks early.
At Minnetonka Orchards, a season of contrasts, starting with a warm March, followed by a cold April.
Some areas in the orchard it got down into the low 20s. It killed a lot of bloom.
Created a mixed bag for apple growers.
I would say these are thriving. This is the best crop of sweet tangos that we've had.
On one hand, Lowell has some early apples in great shape. On the other hand, he's got other varieties like the Honeycrisp.
You just don't have the numbers of apples on there that we would have in a full crop year.
That are coming up short. And when you're in a line of business like this, every apple counts.
If the weather is nasty during the season, or if customers don't show up during that short period of 2 months, it's a disaster, a financial disaster.
there's a nice red one.
Apple growers are delighted to see customers like Sarah and Ella in the fields early.
You're doing a great job, Ella.
Those who've gotten the message, this season is underway. The early apple crop means that the peak of the apple season will come in mid to late September instead of October.
Well, not as many apples, but this one looks pretty good. This
There's
one
one
just
left. We
came
brought
off
a
the
bag,
tree.
and there's one left, so it tells you the quality is good.
Yeah, the guys at the station just gobbled the rest up. This is all that remains, and looks pretty good.
Ready to eat. Still ahead in our health check report, how a little help makes a big difference when it comes to losing weight.
And later in sports, Champlain Park's girls tennis team is looking to follow last year's strong season with another big year.
But first, it's a look at your AccuWeather forecast.
The state health department says the swine barn at the state fair will be open this year despite a new strain of flu that's been spreading from pigs to humans. Health officials say they've taken precautions that should reduce the risk. A former state epidemiologist, though, disagrees, saying swine should be kept away from state fairs because of the flu. About 250 people have been infected across the country by a new strain of flu that has spread from pigs to humans at state and county fairs. One case was confirmed in Minnesota just yesterday. Advice for losing weight. It often focuses on simple things like healthier eating and just getting more exercise.
But actually doing that can be a lot easier said than done, especially without help. In today's health check, Delane Cleveland shows us a woman who reached those goals with a little assistance from her employer.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so excited for you.
It was a big day for Michelle Williams. The nurse at North Memorial Hospital's cardiovascular unit won a trip to New York and a $500 shopping spree.
That was very cool. A little bit nerve-wracking, but there you go.
In the eyes of the weight loss product company OptiFast, it was well-deserved after she lost a total of 95 pounds thanks to a grueling 16-week program.
February of last year, I was put on blood pressure medication, and I was only 34. And I work at a heart and vascular clinic, so kind of knew that was not a good sign.
After unsuccessfully trying to lose weight on her own, Michelle heard about a new program being offered for North Memorial employees.
Like one of the first things they talked about was how this program can help you get off your medication and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, what you know, what's the worst thing that happens? It fails, and then I'm right where I'm at.
For 12 weeks, Michelle's diet consisted primarily of weight loss supplements.
I thought I was going to die the first 2 weeks.
Instead, she thrived, thanks to the supervision and guidance of the hospital's weight loss center, led by Dr. Sophia Kim.
We ask individuals in the program to really take a hard look at, you know, the way they've done life and why they're there.
It's a program that debuted at North Memorial last year, which helps employees change their lifestyle. Michelle is one of 36 people who have enrolled. Yet while each participant has the hospital's resources at their disposal, Dr. Kim says anyone can achieve Michelle's level of success.
A lot of it is mindfulness when it comes to exercise, emotional well-being, what you're doing.
Michelle had the mindfulness to get help when her weight reached 265 pounds. Now she hopes her story inspires others.
It takes a lot of hard work, and you really have to change not just your habits, but also your mentality, and that's a hard switch to flip sometimes.
Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
North Memorial says it was the first organization in the Twin Cities to offer the program for its employees. And as for Michelle, she says she now exercises more and eats healthier. And she looks great.
Yeah, good for her.
Coming up, how the latest plans for a local park will need a boost from donors.
And up next in sports, Armstrong's football team gets set for the season with a new head coach. Jay Wilcox says that and more when we come back. Jay Wilcox with sports now. We start with kind of an interesting story that you don't see very often. I mean, you have a high-level hockey team, and maybe a guy just walks on and plays for the team.
That's what he's going to give it a shot at. And this is a guy who was really feeling like his hockey career was over, and now maybe not so fast here. One of the leaders on Maple Grove's state tournament boys hockey team from last season is going to try his hand at high-level college hockey. Spencer Bell, number 20 for Maple Grove, is going to walk on with the University of Wisconsin hockey team. Bell decided to go to school there rather than play junior hockey and was reluctantly going to give up the sport. A late departure for an NHL contract by a Wisconsin player left an opening with the Badgers, and Bell is going to get a chance to fill that void.
You know, I was really excited. I mean, it kind of came out of nowhere. I had gotten contact with the coaches, and you know, I had nothing to lose, so when they said they had a spot for me, I was pretty excited about it. After last season, I kind of expected that I was going to be hanging up the skates and moving on with my life, but once this came about, it was kind of a shock, and I had to get back on the skates and really start getting at it again, but you know, I'm excited to do it.
Bell had 19 goals and 26 assists for the Crimson last season. He isn't guaranteed a spot on Wisconsin's team, but he will get a chance in practice. He's set to study biomedical engineering. The same teams seem to be near the top in local conferences in girls' high school tennis. Champlain Park is hoping to become one of those teams to watch. It's a sunny outlook for the Champlain Park girls' tennis team. The Rebels served up a winner last fall, improving to 13-7 and reaching the section semifinals after a losing season the year before. With much of last year's team back, they're very excited about this year's prospects.
I'm actually really excited because we have pretty much the same lineup as last year, and experience is worth a lot. I've been on varsity since my sophomore year, and just playing varsity instead of JV, there's a complete different mental game to it.
We made it to the section semifinals. It was the first time in several years that we had been there. Now our goal is to kind of make that a habit and to be one of those teams that's in that conversation every year.
The top three singles players are back: Riley Abesekra, Anna Markgraf, and Sarah Handel. And the second and third doubles teams from last season are back after great years and move up to number 1 and 2 this fall. They've made the step to above average last year. Now they want to challenge teams like Elk River and Centennial for Northwest Suburban supremacy.
Those have always been our toughest matches, so it's going to take a lot to try and beat them, but I think we have a good shot of at least making the matches closer.
We want to beat Centennial this year. We've never done it before, so that's one of our goals. I mean, I guess we would love to get to state, but that's a very hard goal to accomplish, so we'll work on Centennial first, I think.
The Rebels hosted a tournament last Saturday, and they face Cooper this coming Monday in their first regular match. The Armstrong football team has a new head coach this season, and as Jason Melillo reports, right now the Falcons are learning as they go. Here's today's training camp report.
The preseason is a work in progress for the Armstrong Falcons.
It's been interesting.
First-year head coach Dave Frizzell and his assistants are busy acclimating players to a new offense.
There's a lot of little unique things that we do that they haven't done in the past, and so it's been tough on the kids. They've had to change some of their practice habits and some of the way they've thought in the past, and so we're all learning each other right now and learning what works and what doesn't.
The Falcons will also have a new quarterback. Quinn Frizzell is Coach Frizzell's son, and Quinn's knowledge of the offense has made the transition a little easier.
He knows offense pretty well too. It's kind of like having a coach on the field that can kind of direct us where to go and help us out. So it's very helpful.
It's nice having somebody who knows all the plays and who can, deal with this new offense just so well.
On defense, Armstrong will rely on its speed and experience to make up for a lack of size.
We'll probably start 11 seniors the way things are looking right now. So we expect good things of them. We haven't changed that system as much, and so those kids know what they're doing, and I expect good things out of our defense.
In spite of all the changes, the Falcons are optimistic, as most football teams are in August. The question is, can they come together in time for Week 1? Jason Melillo, 12 Sports.
Thanks, Jason. The Falcons were 3-6 last fall under previous coach Ryan Bartlett. They open at home against Maple Grove next Thursday, August 30th. Wednesday, starting at 4 o'clock, a look at the Champlain Park Rebels. And I know Coach Frizzell has a lot of experience, so it'll be interesting. It might take a little while, but I think he's going to be a good fit.
All right, watch and see.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thank you, Jake. Well, coming up, how one group is trying to turn dreams into reality at a local park.
We'll be right back. In Robbinsdale, the city just finished a major project rebuilding ball fields around Crystal Lake.
They're even cleaning up the lake itself, but the ideas don't stop there. A task force has been working on a concept to build a pavilion where large picnics or band concerts could be held by Crystal Lake. It will go on the south side of the lake, but first, it'll take some fundraising.
The group did some work last night again, talking about naming rights, cornerstones, pillars of support, fields of support, and trying to come up with a whole bunch of different contribution levels that a person or a business could contribute in to help make this vision come from the paper into an actual structure.
A pavilion could cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000, but you can find out more about the plans next month. Park Pavilion Task Force members will be at Robbinsdale's Meet and Greet event. That's on September 10th, and they'll be out there to gauge interest in a pavilion and just to answer any questions that people might have. I think it's still very early in the process, and it's a lot of money to raise, but they want to see, if people are interested in it. And there are a couple other things like that around the Twin Cities that they're looking at. Very exciting, though.
You could definitely get some examples from Minneapolis and all the way around the metro.
That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Community Corner is coming up next.